we've had a pretty good summer from the start to the finish. The highlights include 4 of our golfers. Obviously, Sophia Schubert winning the U.S. Amateur is a big deal. That's obviously amongst the biggest tournaments you can win in women's amateur golf. Agathe Lene from Paris, France, one of my incoming freshmen, won the European Ladies Championship in late July, and that is, in my mind, the equivalent to the women's U.S. Amateur in Europe. So that was a huge win by a young player, so we're excited about that. Caitlin Papp was part of the Junior Solheim Cup team a couple of weeks ago, winning U.S. side. So that was exciting. And then Emily Hoffman is arriving back from Taiwan today, where she competed in the World University Games and helped the U.S. side to a gold medal. So those are the 4 highlights that we had. There were some other tournaments played throughout the summer, but certainly those, in my mind, trump everything else that had happened.
Questions?
The 2 freshmen, incoming freshmen that you mentioned, what do you expect them to bring to your team this year, and do you think they can contribute right away?
I expect them to contribute right away. I think they'll be regulars in our lineup. They're both capable of winning. They've both won at the highest level of junior golf, and Agathe has won, in my mind, at the highest level in women's amateur golf, winning the European Ladies. So they will be impactful for sure.
So are you getting a raise?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I hope so. No, I'm taken care of here very well.
How would you rate your skills as a caddy versus a coach?
That's a good question. You're a pretty good caddy, when you have a really good player that you're carrying for. So my job with Sophia was pretty easy, to be honest with you. I walk with her a lot during the season, so we were very synced up. I know her game pretty well and her tendencies, so we hit the ground running when we were in San Diego at the Women's Am. There was no learning curve there. So I would say the answer is you're a great coach when you have great players, and you're a great caddy when you have a great player that you're looping for.
No disagreements.
I wouldn't go that far. But we usually arrive at a common conclusion. If there's ever any disagreements, we'll talk it through and play whatever shot needs to be played.
All right. What has it been like coaching Sophia?
It's been fantastic. She's a great player. We knew she was a great player when she made the jump from Auburn to transfer here. So we were excited to have her, to receive her. She's essentially played in my #1 spot since she arrived, and she's a great leader. She's great in the classroom. So all around, it's been terrific having Sophia.
When you get into a final, I think you expect it to be a little back and forth. I mean, she dominated. Were you a little surprised at how dominant she was, and what were some of those conversations you had on that final day when you're in probably a position maybe you didn't expect to be in, being up that much?
It was a little surprising. You would expect some back and forth in the match, but she won the first hole, and she never looked back, and she got to 4 up through 18. Really could have been 6 or 7 up through 18. She played so well in the first 18, it was a bit surreal for me. And yeah, we talked about it prior. The one thing I always remind my players of when we're talking about nerves is I reminded her that Albane was nervous as well. She was very nervous because she was the #3 ranked player in the world, and people expect her to win that tournament. And just knowing that, I think, can put a person at ease a little bit. And then Sophia handles nerves in general pretty well, and she did. The opening hole, she hits driver 9-iron to 3 feet, and it was just like, here we go. There's no nerves there.
What was the conversation after 18 that y'all had? Just not much. Just keep
Immediately, we looked back at the green, and I said, okay, if we get back to this hole, which I hope we don't in the afternoon, I said, we have to hit this ball on this side of the hole. But it was just, let's go have lunch and relax, and when we get ready to go, we'll go back through our routine, just as we do for any round, and we'll stick to our routine for the afternoon.
Ryan, how do you pace your athletes? Obviously, they're playing a lot during the summer, and then you guys have your fall schedule, and your spring schedule essentially starts in February. How do you pace them throughout the year so that they're not burning out in golf?
That's tough. I don't have full control over that. You know, in the summertime when they go home, they're playing their schedule on their own generally, and there's so many opportunities now through the calendar year that it's hard to tell someone to stop. But we do look big picture. We do look at the moments that we want to peak, whether that be the women's USAM or whether that be our NC2A final. There's definitely moments on our calendar where that's the moment you have to peak. So 5 months prior, 6 months prior, you have to take a rest and you have to do something differently. So we talk about it, and I want them paying attention to the calendar, but you can't have full control over what they do in the summertime.
How would you describe Sophia's game overall, and what do you think are your chances of winning a national championship next year?
For our team or for her?
For both her and you.
So Sophia's game overall, she's a great ball striker. That's the cornerstone of her game. She drives it really well, has good length, good iron player. She's really improved her wedge game, which has elevated her game. Very good putter, and at times terrific putter, streaky good. Not too many weaknesses in her game overall. Our chances next year, we'll have a team that can compete, that's for sure. You have to have that obviously going in. You have to have a team that's capable. You have to prepare well, and then you have to have some lucky things happen that week. So it can happen for us.
Who do you think has made the biggest strides since December, would you say, on the team?
On our team? It's hard to say. I've got, you know, a GAT winning that European Ladies. That was a big win. Sophia did kind of, not that we expected Sophia to do that, but she's capable of doing it. So it wasn't a surprise for her to win that. I don't know. It's a tough question to ask.
Lady Buckeye was on.
She did. She won at Ohio State, and that is on a really difficult golf course. And she moved away from the field because of her ball striking mainly. It's a ball striker's golf course, and it was amongst the best performances I had ever witnessed in person, really.
I know all of this is a individual sport, but how much do the men and women kind of play off each other, ride each other's momentum? I mean, there's so much success right now in both programs. Do you see any of that kind of carry over between the two?
Yes, very much. We don't talk about that so much, but nobody likes to be one-upped by the other side. And luckily, I have a lot of players on my team that if they see success over there, they believe they should have success too. I had a player last year that wanted to play them. She came to me and said, "Coach, we ought to play them." And I was like, and that's, you know, that's competitiveness. You want that, and luckily I've got a team that is that way.
When will you set that up?
We'd have to run that through compliance first to see if that's even allowable. I don't know. I'm not sure Coach Fields would want to do that.
Hey, Coach.
Hey,
What do you like about Caitlin? And, you know, she's a local star around here. Great summer and a heck of a golfer. What do you see her progressing now and in the future?
the thing I like about Caitlin Papp the most, I think, is if if 68's the best score she can shoot that day, she's going to shoot 68. If it's 75, she's going to shoot 75. Throughout a round, she doesn't have any lapses. She's giving every shot its due attention, and she did that as a junior golfer, and I think it's kind of a cornerstone in her game. She's a point A to point B golfer. She's not going to overpower a golf course, obviously. She's not a big person, but she understands her game really well, can plot her way around a golf course, and that's her model. That's who she is as a golfer. I think as she comes through college, we'll simply try to perfect that. We'll make that as good as we can make it.
Murph, how do you
Hey.
try to convince some of those South Korean young golfers, don't go on tour yet, come experience a university in Austin? Have you done that, and will you do that, or can you do that?
That's a difficult thing to do. The really good ones, they're not considering college. They're just moving towards professional golf, and they've essentially put all their eggs in that basket, and they're not considering it. There's some, you have your exceptions, but the really good ones, coming out of that country, out of that part of the world, they've got their minds set on the LPGA Tour from an early age. Thanks.
Thank you.